Shalom, shalom. First, I want to start off by giving all honor, praises, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rechakwadash. Double honors unto the elders, apostles, and bishops, the GMS Great Millstone, who rule well, teach, and edify, having 100% sound doctrine. And peace and blessings unto sincere Akim and Akwat in his household of faith. My name is Yeshaya from the GMS Arizona Church in Ottawa, Ratazah, meaning Lord willing, or Lord's will. Gonna make an edifying video going into probably the title is gonna be Lord willing. You know, the apostles said it. All right, the apostles coined it. At the beginning of this year, through the Spirit, the apostles, specifically Elder Apostle Gabar, he made a video that said, 8 things that are gonna happen, this coming year. You know, and of those things, he said, things like more plane crashes, war tensions. I believe plagues was on that list. And here we are at the end of the year 2025. All right, all of those things on that list has come to fruition. I mean, shit, even martial law kicked off this year. Right? And as a matter of fact, this is, further evidence in the strengthening of faith of the saints of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai that the Lord is going to be back soon, very soon. All right, Elder Apostle Tahar coining every year, he coined this coming year 2026, the year of apostasy, sellouts, apostates. Apostates going into those that fell away from the faith, okay, those that walked away from the thing. All right, so, the apostles are on point. They're accurate, when they, when they're given this, given that knowledge through the Spirit and passing it all throughout Israel, man. And you see it actually is true. You see who the real prophets are, man. You see it. And then we just gonna go through the end time headlines. All right, and we gonna look at a couple of these headlines and throw up some scriptures about the prophets. All right. But it says Claudio Manuel Neves Valentina identified as Brown University shooting suspect. And so far in 2025, there have been, I believe, over 400 school shootings or school water gun fights. I don't know. I don't know what the fucking code that one has, but I was playing with water guns at school and shit 400 times, over 400 times this year. All right, and not only that too, sleeper cells been activated. All right, you got certain tragedies, man. Even in the world, they're starting to see ultimately through the prophets that another tragic thing is gonna happen here somewhere upon the horizon. All right, it's very soon to when a lot of bad shit is gonna be popping off, and it's gonna fall like dominoes. All right, because what does the scripture say? All right, in Second Ezra, the 4th chapter, in the 37th verse, that reads, says, by measure hath he measured the times, and by number hath he numbered the times. He doth not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled. And that's ultimately the Lord letting these prophecies come to fruition. That's the Lord letting these things come after, in their order that he deems them to come. Okay? The Lord is not unorganized by any means. The Lord is the most organized thing to ever exist. The Lord made organization. Okay? So with that being said, when he throws out his prophecies and he throws out all those things that he does, he says it to his prophets. There's a whole process on how this is supposed to be broken down. Ultimately, he woke up the prophets. All right. They all came back to the truth. We coming back to who we are. We coming back to our heritage, or having our heritage stripped away from us, pursuing the Jeremiah 17:4. Are we coming back to this knowledge? Then the prophets ready, reading up, studying. All right, study to show thyself approved. That strength of knowledge. Let me get it real quick. I butchered that precept. It says, study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed. And that's why the apostles and the elders and the many brothers of this sound doctrine, all right, the sincere believers of this truth, are able to say so boldly what's right and what's wrong. Because they studied up, they know these prophecies. All right, the GMS is the main camp of prophecy, as a matter of fact. And you could see it just in the proof of the pudding. All right. The Lord is dealing with these men. The Lord is dealing with the elders and apostles and the many brothers and sincere Akim all throughout the world, that are following behind this sound doctrine. Even those who listen to the prophets. You know, it's not necessarily just about them. It's also about the flock. You can look at the flock of the people that pay attention and listen to the prophets sincerely and wholeheartedly. Their spirits are enlightened. Their spirits are aware. Their spirits understand the things that are fucking going on. Whereas everybody else is over here worried about fucking Israelite fashion shows and shit. Okay? Over here, the humble, meek tabernacle of David that the Lord has established here on this earth, all right? You got brothers bringing out prophecy. You got brothers telling it what it is. You got brothers rebuking and exhorting and building and edifying. Okay? Edifying, edification, the maturing of the spirit. All right? Ultimately, edification means, edifying means to build upon. All right? Studying the scriptures, understanding the prophecies, understanding the times that we're in, understanding what the fuck is happening. And with all that being said, the Lord called Allah Yahweh Shem Yahushai has brought these prophecies unto us. And now you got the elders and apostles bringing it out into the nation. Okay? And this is the beautiful thing about the time that we're in. This is the beautiful thing that the time that we're in. Because we're right around the end. All right? So, finishing this precept, a workman that needed not to be ashamed. Rightly dividing the word of truth. Rightly dividing the word of truth. Understanding what the word of truth is. You know, the scriptures talk about, you know, as a palate of diverse venison. Let me see. Venison. It's in the Apocrypha. So, Sirach 36 and verse 19. As the palate tasted diverse kinds of venison, so doth the heart of understanding false speeches. All you, you know, sincere Akim and Agua that listen to these videos, hang on and keep strong. All right, stay with that. The year that we're entering into, 2026, the apostles deemed the year of apostasy. You have to stay tight. You have to stay tight in the faith of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right, there's a reason why a lot of guys be bugging the fuck out and start, you know, calling on some crazy ass names. Ultimately, you got to stay in that light. You got to stay in the right spirit. Okay, because shit's popping off. That's the bottom line. Shit is popping off. So, with all that being said, you know, keeping the right spirit. Hey, sit down. It's like my dog's tripping. But yeah, going back to the end time headlines, it says stop. Salak. It says Attorney General Pam Bondi. Stop that shit, man. Sit down. Sit down. Come on now. You're tripping. It says Attorney General Pam Bondi threatened with jail time if she does not produce full Epstein files by Friday. So even the wicked are being revealed. All right? But ultimately, they only going to reveal what the prerogative says they're going to do, because these devils never do anything in wholeheartedness. They never do anything for justice. You can't trust a Edomite to do anything that's sincere and honest. You can't trust it. All right? I won't even trust getting $1 from an Edomite. But as being said, the elders and apostles have been bringing this out, you know, revealing who the wicked is. You know, their dirt being uncovered, their nakedness being shown, their thigh being made bare. MAGA implodes as Turning Point USA conference as Ben Shapiro rips into Tucker Carlson. It says Canada was unable to treat a sick woman, so it offered to assist her in taking her own life. This is what the fuck is, you know, the world is turning into. It says West Coast hammered by trillions of gallons of rain. Wind speeds up to 144 miles per hour. I didn't even see that. I just opened up the inside. So now you got the tempestuous winds. You got all these fucking crazy ass things happening. You know, hurricanes. You got floods. All kinds of shit that's going around. All right, pursuing the Matthew 24 chapter, Joel the 2nd chapter. You know, the world is being put in disarray. You could see it within just the world itself. The trees are sad as fuck. They cutting down whole forests. You got hurricanes that's happening every 2 weeks like a fucking video game DLC. It's happening all the time. Every 2 weeks, it's a new fucking disaster. 144 miles per hour. And you can't tell me that's not the Lord. The Lord is cold like that. He'll put messages out there. You gotta go through the spirit to see him out. You know, sometimes you going through some bullshit. You ever see 144 around? It's like, wow, okay. Okay, you know, 777, you know, completion. You know, the number 3 represents power, 5 understanding, 4 is mercy. I believe that's mercy. You might have to double check that one. But the Lord will send you these you know, Lord will send you understanding on these things, man. It says, and that's the spirit, man. It says Sydney police ram vehicle and arrest 7 men on their way to Bondi Beach to carry out another attack. Sleeper cells waking open. Hollywood disclosure and the coming of great depiction. All right, so now you even got, Hollywood showing UFOs. You got UFOs all over the place, man. Unidentified flying object, as the world calls, but it's really the chariots of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai coming out, revealing themselves, man. You see all the time that the prophets, of the Lord coming out above camps and above brothers and just at random places. We are truly in these last times. Suspect in Brown shooting ideas, authorities probe possible connection to MIT killing. So a bunch of killing, a bunch of murder. The love of many shall wax cold. A woman in Japan marries AI generated boyfriend. All right, and you telling me we not in the end times? It says a gathered storm is brewing that could pull Russia and China into a direct conflict with America. So wars and rumors of wars. The second world pass and the third world coming quickly. Multiple killed after private jet owned by NASCAR driver crashes near runway, sparking massive fireballs. So there you go. There you go. Plane crashes, wars, pestilences. The world getting torn up and stuff like that. This is what the prophets have been bringing out, and guess what? They bring it out to you before it happens. Okay, Isaiah 42:9. And that's why it's so important to stay locked into the spirit, because ultimately, if it's getting brought out, you got to listen. You got to hear. All right. It says, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. Who does that? The prophets. In the Old Testament, it's called the seers. All right. The Lord has given them the eyes to see the things that are there. The Lord has given them the ability to measure that spirit. The discernment of spirits is actually a spiritual power in which the Apostle Paul told about in 1 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, concerning spiritual gifts. But hey, I pray this lesson was edifying. I want to lastly give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Bashem Kakwadash. Shalom, and hang tight. Hang tight to this faith. Hang tight to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua.